we'll go.
Hi, I go by Kitska or Hello Kitska.
I go by sincanvas.
A dark artist, to some.
Yeah, to some.
Will you introduce yourself real quick?
I'm Scam.
I love that.
What is art?
Yeah.
I mean, people can say like doing performance or someone sitting up on stage farting could be art. I mean, you can say anything's pretty much art is if you just put the label on it. It just really depends on what kind of subcategory you're in. Some of it I think is garbage, and then some of it I really like. I've gone to galleries and I've seen classical painters' art. I've seen like Andy Warhol and Chuck Close and artists like that. And then I've seen stuff that paintings that are just like a brown canvas with a orange line, and it's $1 million. I think that's bullshit.
I look at art as a graceful way to kind of go through time. Just something that just has come natural to me, so it's really hard to kind of dissect it. I'm constantly learning and growing each day, so I don't know. It's a tough one. It is a silly question. Yeah, it's a silly, but it's such a deep question. Yeah, I don't know.
I ask the question usually, what is art? So I'm going to ask before that though, is that a silly question?
I don't think so at all. I mean, it varies though from person to person. That's the thing is, art is not something that can be just defined by one answer. It's all encompassing. It's one of those beautiful things that just has everything in it. You know what I mean? So I don't think it's a silly question at all. And art to me is life. It's everywhere we look, everywhere we breathe, everywhere we walk. I mean, everything around us was designed at one point in time by an artist. Whether it's a chair or it's a street plan or no one really thinks about that though. Everything had to be a visual drawing first before it be manifested into something else, like a house or a city plan. So art is even more than what people believe it to be, and they kind of just don't really think about it. It's an obligation to myself to get myself out there and connect with people heart to heart. That's what my artwork is really all about, is connecting to others and making others feel and kind of getting a response from them that way. So it's an obligation to myself to make myself get out there and really connect with the human race. And, I don't know what else to say.
I feel like if I can reach some people, like an audience about, money, my ideas about money or politics, or gentrification or whatever you want to call it, that is my obligation, I guess, to inspire other people. People tell me that I get messages, like private messages from people quite often online that are just like, hey, I love what you're doing. You're always putting stuff out. You're always working on something. It's inspiring. It's inspired me to do things, and I've had other artists tell me that. And I think that's really rewarding as an artist because I'm from North Dakota, a small town in North Dakota. I grew up. I was an artist there. There is no art scene there. It's all like what I call like dentist art, where it's like duck and geese on a wall that you'd see in like a dental office.
Does artwork have an obligation?
I think it does. Us as street artists have definitely a young crowd that looks up to us, and I think we have a lot more power than we actually know. So I think we do have, sort of a responsibility to the message that we put out. We have a lot of power underneath our fingertips.
I don't think there's such thing as dangerous art. I think there's dangerous propaganda. That's what I think.
Dangerous propaganda?
Dangerous propaganda. Art uses propaganda in the wrong ways to lie or enforce negative things that oppress other people.
I think dangerous art is art that's inspiring. I personally don't think that that's dangerous, but I could see how secular society would find that to be very dangerous. So inspiring art.
Yeah. Is there such thing as dangerous art?
I think so. I think that it's anything that would offend like regular people. If you, I don't know if you get my meaning, but those who are just kind of really wound up tight and, you know, have these very conservative opinions of things. And so, I mean, anytime you put nudity out in public art, it's defaced almost immediately. You know, it's all covered up. Anything that has to do with politics too, that's usually the first to go. I found where I've put a sticker next to his, and my sticker is untouched, but his is like shredded. Because his is a lot more political. Mine's
Scams?
Yeah, scam stickers, yeah. I mean, even the same with posters too. Like, I've had a poster next to his, and his gets defaced, and mine isn't really touched. So I think that, you know, his political opinion offends a lot of people, and, you know, that's why they kind of just go after him. And mine, I guess, would be considered a little bit more pretty and feminine and all of that, but it's still very deeply connected to a lot of dark things inside my head.
Depending on the art I think they're putting out, the artists I think should be afraid. I think there's a lot of fear going on lately, so it's kind of making some subcultures become more targeted, I think, as of late, with some conservatives being in power.
I think the reason why you don't get so many street artists together is because it is a culture where people try to keep their identity secret. You know, police or authority figures would come after individuals if it was easy. You know, it's almost kind of like the tree, the metaphor where it's like the closest apple to the bottom of the tree is going to be the first apple picked. And, you know, you don't want to be that individual at the bottom to be picked, because they're going to go after the ones that are easy first.
I wouldn't say worried, but I would say cautious. Just because of, you know, who our master overlord is at the moment. You know, things just seem kind of a little bit more tense, you know, in the world, everywhere. Everyone, the whole world feels just kind of like this vibration of, you know, anxiety, and it's terrible, but I don't think that we should be so scared or worried that we stop doing what we're doing. I think, if anything, we should go out more and put ourselves out there more, because people need it. You know, people need that visual, like, reassurance that, you know, this isn't going to be forever, and we're going to be okay, and there's still those creative human beings out there expressing themselves and reaching out to you saying, it's going to be okay, we promise.
It took longer to glue it down than it did to cut it out.
How many hours?
This was about 200 hours. And it's a collaboration between myself and this artist named Omniker here in town here in Portland. And I cut it out and can just mass produce it now. I can spray it, do different color combinations, and we have all different kinds of like paper and spray paint here, and stencils to do patterns and everything. So when it's a nice day like this, we just kind of get together in the studio and make a bunch of posters. But a lot of my stuff's pretty detailed, so I don't want to lose the detail on them.
How many stencils or how many hours have you put into making stencils?
Hundreds. I used to cut out a stencil a day.
Hundreds of stencils?
Oh yeah, I have hundreds of stencils. Check this out. Come over here.
So thousands of hours.
Yeah.
Boy, that's a lot. It's amazing.
This is an alphabetized, basically stencil cabinet.
Oh my goodness.
These are all stencils I cut out. Sometimes there's more than one stencil inside here. They're labeled and everything. I stopped doing this probably like 2010, but
What, archiving them?
Like this, yeah.
Oh.
I just started getting so many of them I couldn't, and they weren't the same size or bigger. These ones are more like 8.5 by 11, and then I just started doing larger stuff. And the biggest stencil piece I've done is 10 feet by 6 feet. That's my phone.
Love it.